It says I'm live. I don't know if anybody's here now.
I'll go check for my end. Live on the front end.
Am I live? Is anybody here? I don't know what's going on. Makes me feel flustered. This is RockSim Live. I have no idea if I'm live or not, or if anybody's watching. My computer was running slow, so I had to shut it off and restart it, and then I had problems getting reconnected to the stream on YouTube. And now it says I'm live, but now there's nobody in the room, so I end up talking to myself. Oh, we got Chris Swainston here. Yay! We're back in business. Oh, great. Awesome. So let's get started. So I'm going to ignore, I think this monitor is, when it's running, it slows me down. So I'm going to keep the monitor off today. And so I'm going to have to do everything from one screen in front of me. So I may or may not see the chats. I'll keep the chat running over here. And so you'll be able to see the chat. And I'll be able to see the chat. So that's what we're going with. So if you have a RockSim question, now's the time. I'm available, and it seems to be running a little bit faster now. So thank you all for coming, for bearing with me. Okay, so I did have one RockSim question that came in via email, and that was today. And he sent in an image. Let me open the image up. Okay, so if you're looking at my screen, here's the two images. And what he's got here is a rocket, and he's got a booster attached, and he's got this transition right in the middle. And he drew a picture of the transition. And this was Dave. So Dave, if you're watching this, thank you for coming. I'll try to answer your question. And I absolutely love it when people draw pictures, because the pictures are worth 1,000 words, and I know exactly what's going on. So he's got an upper stage, and he's calling it the Estes Wizard. He's got that Wizard booster. He's got a C67 in there. The engine hangs out, but then it goes into the lower tube. So this tube right here, this brown one, that's connected to the red one that's just above the transition. And then that tube goes all the way down through here, and it stops right, it stops at, it's used as an engine block as well. So there's a centering ring here that's holding this tube. Let's see if I can highlight it. So there's this tube that comes in all the way like from there. And then around it, there's an engine block there, there's an engine block there, or a centering ring. And he's got a conical transition there. And his question is, how do you make that in RockSim? So let's go into RockSim, and we will show you how to make that. So I don't know if I have an Estes Wizard. So, but I do have the Apogee Blue Streak, and that's pretty similar. So let me sort this by name, and it's probably under Blue Streak. BL, no, we got a Blue Phoenix. Let's see. Blue Streak. Okay, Apogee Blue Streak right there. Okay, so that kind of mimics the rocket here. So They both have 3 fins and a nose cone, so it's pretty similar, and they're both 18 millimeter. All right, so now we're going to build that booster stage with the transition, and his question was, how do you do that transition? So first we're going to change this rocket to a 2-stage. So I'm going to go to the Rocket Design Attributes tab, and I see Rosa is here, so hello Rosa, and they're from Ottawa, Canada. And okay, so the number of stages will make us a 2-stage rocket, just like that. Now it's a 2-stage rocket. Now you don't see anything because there's no parts to it. So to add parts to it, we're going to go here to the Rocket Design Components. And the first part we want to add, so here's the little trick. This transition, we're going to split this body tube that goes through everything and acts as a coupler and a tube inside there. We're going to split that in 2, and we're going to split it right here above the transition. So he's got 1.18 inches. So I'm going to make a tube that's 1.18 inches, and that's going to be a BT20. So that's going to be my first part in the booster stage. So I'm going to go to body tube, and it's going to be an 18 millimeter, which is a BT20. Click OK. And it added the tube right there, but it's a lot longer than we needed it. And he says it was 1.81. Okay, so there is that first tube. Now, let's color it brown, because he's got it brown. We'll make it brownish looking right there. Okay. That's my 2D color, and or that's the 3D color, and the 2D color will do the same thing. We'll make it brown. So there's my first part of the tube. Now we're going to make, okay, so you don't see it right here. That's because I'm only showing the first stage. So I need to show the booster stage as well. So I'm going to drop down here to 2-stage, and so now that tube appears. So now the next part, we're not going to do the part that's inside. We're going to do the transition first, and then we're going to put the tube inside that transition. So we're going to do a transition. We're going to click on that, and it's going to bring up the database of transitions. I'm going to just cancel it, and we're going to build it on the fly. So first we need to get the diameters right. So the easiest way to get the diameters right is actually to go to the shoulder, and we're going to set the shoulders to the right tubes, because we can pick those tubes, and then we'll get rid of the shoulders because he didn't have shoulders in his. So I'm going to choose a compatible tube, and this is the front shoulder, so this will be this tube right here, and that's going to be that 18 millimeter tube. Click OK, and it added the shoulder there. And now we're going to choose the rear shoulder, and I believe he had a BT50. Yeah, that's BT50, so outside diameter 0.976. You can see he even wrote it right here, so that's very nice. And the length of it is 0.65 inches. So going back into RockSim, choose a compatible body tube, and that's a 24 millimeter. So he's got, I can check it here, 0.950 inside diameter and 0.975, and this rounded it up to 0.980, so that's close enough. So I'm going to click OK, and so I'll put it right there, but there's no transition in the middle. So now I'll go back to the General tab, and I'm going to change the length of that transition, and he had it 0.65 inches, just like that. Okay. Now I want to clear out the shoulders, because if you look at his drawing, where's the drawing again? Okay, there's no shoulders on these on this transition right there. But there is a tube that runs right through the middle, and that tube is 1.7 plus 0.65, so that's 2.35. I need to remember that, 2.35 inches for the tube that runs to the inside. So to clear the shoulders, I'm going to go to the shoulder tab, and I'm going to say clear front shoulder, clear rear shoulder. But it left the transition right in the middle, just like I wanted it. All right, and then I'll choose a color. And I think he had it white. And in 2D, we'll pick this color right there. So there is our transition. And let's make sure everything else is correct. He's got this as paper. And it's not solid, it's hollow. And we'll give it a thickness of 0.01 inches. I'm not sure what that is, but that's probably pretty close. It's got a weight of 0.342 grams. We'll go with that. Everything else looks okay, so I'm going to click OK here. And now, instead of putting the tube through the middle, what I'm going to do is to create the tube on the bottom. This tube down here. So he's got a tube that runs all the way down here. Let's see over here. So this brown tube right here. So let's create that tube next. So that's 2.28 plus 1.7. We'll get a calculator and throw that up there. 2.28 plus 1.7 equals 3.98 inches. So it's almost 4 inches. Okay, so I'm going to put a tube to this transition. So that's going to be a body tube. So here's the body tube. Click on that. Again, it's the BT50, which is 24 millimeter, which is that tube. Click OK. And it was a length of 3.98 inches. So there's that tube. This is a motor mount because he had a D12 in the bottom. So I'm going to check that box. And let's see what else we want to change here. We can change the name. Let's call it booster motor mount tube, so we can tell it apart, and click OK. All right, so there it is. Now we're going to put that tube through the middle, this tube right here, and that was 2.35 inches. So let's go do that. So this is going to be an inside tube. I wonder if I can put it in the transition. Yes, I can put it in the transition. So if you click on the transition, and if you get an active button up here, that means you can click on it. So I highlighted the transition, and I'm going to click inside tube, and it's looking in the database. So I'm going to choose this tube, the BT20. Click OK. It added it. You can see this blue tube right here, but we need that tube. Let's call it the inside tube, and we'll call the length 2.35 inches. So there it is right there, and that is not a motor mount, so it's okay. We're not going to see it, so the color is not important because it's inside. But if you want to change it, you could do it here. I'll make it orange on the inside, just so you can see it in case we look at it. And click OK. Now we're going to add those 2 centering rings. Okay, so here's one centering ring right there, and then he's got another one down here, and that centers that tube up inside the larger one. So let's do that. So I can add a centering ring here because I can see it's highlighted. So click on that, and it wants to actually, let's see. This is going to be a 18 to 24 centering ring because it's 18 millimeters on the inside and it's a 24 millimeter tube on the outside. So you can select it there, or you can let RockSim automatically calculate it for you. Okay, so it put it right there, and it's in the wrong spot, so I just need to move it. Okay, so I moved it right there. Well, actually, that's a really good spot. You see how it hangs out the front just a little bit? That's actually pretty good because that will help align that conical transition there. So when I build similar things, I always hang that front centering ring out just a little bit. And if it hangs out too far, don't worry, that's okay. you can just take some sandpaper and then just kind of chamfer off the edge so it matches the angle of that transition, and it'll get a perfect fit. So that's like a little tip when you're building these things. We're going to call this one the front centering ring because we're going to have 2 rings there. And I'll change the color. I'll make it magenta for the 2D and the 3D color. Okay, so there is our ring inside. You can't see it because it's hidden, but I can change. I can see that if I go to 2D view right here. I'll just do a side view so you can see my ring is right there. And now I need another one at the back. So I'm just going to copy this ring and then paste it and then just move the position. So I'm going to do a right click on the part right here, right click, and you get this little menu. I'm going to do copy, and now I need to paste it. So I'm going to go up 1 level and then highlight that and then right click again and then say paste. And it pasted it, but it pasted it in the exact same spot, which is fine. We'll just move it. So I'm going to double click on it to open it. And then I'm just going to continue to change the location by moving the slider bar here. So I'll just move it all the way down to the bottom, and let me zoom in a little bit. So to zoom in, I just use my my mouse, just the scroll wheel. You can also use the magnifying glasses right there. And then if you want to move it around, you just click and drag, and it will move it around. So I'm hanging off the back just a little bit, so I want to just move it a smidge forward. Too far. So let's do 0.05. Let's try 2.1. Okay, 2.1 inches is perfect. And we're going to call this one the rear centering ring. Click OK. All right, so is there anything that we're missing here? Carlos says, Carlos is back after falling through a hole in the web. Okay. We have Gerald K says, can RockSim be used to make a 4-sided pyramid? And the answer, Gerald, is no, but we'll talk about that in just a second. Okay, so let me take a look at his rocket right here. So he's got this booster, and he didn't put any fins on it. He's just going to launch it like this. He's got a little hole. I can't put that hole in RockSim. It doesn't allow me to cut a tube like that. Not a circular hole anyway. I could slot the tube for a fin, but not making a round hole. Let's put motors in this thing and see if it's stable. So first I want to save it, and I'm going to just save it to my desktop. Blue Streak, 2-stage, and hit save. And we're going to load engines. So to load engines, go up here to prepare for flight. You can see we got our 2 stages. We got an 18mm in the top and a 24 in the bottom. So he had a C6-7 in the top. So here is a C6, and choose 7-second delay, click OK. It loaded it there. Now I'm going to choose an engine for the bottom, and he had a D12-0. D12-0, click OK. It loaded it in the bottom, and let's say OK. Looking at this rocket, this is what I wanted to check. It says it's unstable, and I can see that because my center of gravity, which is 0, that's where the rocket balances. If you kind of lay it on your finger, it's behind the center of pressure. The center of pressure is where all the aerodynamic forces balance. And for a rocket to be stable, this center of gravity has to be in front of that center of pressure location. So this rocket's unstable. And to make it stable, we're going to need some fins. So we'll put fins on our booster stage right here. So I'm going to go to this body tube right there, which is our big one. I'm just going to add some fins. So I'm going to click on the fins, and you can see it added some right there. And it just drew a generic shape. I'm going to cancel out of the database again. It always looks in the database first. So if you want to kind of match the shape, you can kind of change the sweep angle. So I can sweep it back. I'm trying to match that shape. And you can also see that now my center of gravity, which is this symbol right here, is ahead of the center of pressure. So that's good. So now the rocket is stable, and it says it has a margin of stability of 1.24. What that means is the distance between this and this is 1.24 times the diameter of the rocket at the base of the nose cone. So if this is 1 diameter, the distance between this one and this one is 1.24 diameters. And that's good. We want it. The rule of thumb is 1 or greater. And so as long as that number is greater than 1, we're okay. It can be smaller than 1, and for very short rockets, you're never going to get it to 1. So that's fine. As long as it's ahead of the center of pressure, it'll be okay. It's just the hard thing to know is where the center of pressure actually is in flight, because the center of pressure can shift around. And because it shifts around, that's why we have this margin here. That's called the margin of safety. And we want to have it at least 1 and make sure that this rocket flies stable. We got some spammers going on here. Find your love in U City. Yeah, the porn sites are going at it. Okay, so I like my fins. They're set at balsa 1/8 inch thick, which is 0.125 inches. Color, they're kind of gray in 3D and orange in 2D, so that's okay. And so there's my rocket. Let's look at it in 3D. And there's the rocket, and it looks great. Except for I didn't have my engine hanging out the back. Did I have it hanging out the back on the front one? The front one is fine. You see this blue line right here is the tube, and it goes right here, which means that this brown engine is hanging out the back. That's good, but our booster motor is not hanging out the back, so we need to slide that one back just a little bit. So that's this motor right here. I'm going to choose to the engine overhang right here. That's how far back it hangs out. And right now it's 0.0197, so it's just a smidge out the back. And I like to have mine, as my personal rule of thumb is 1/2 of an inch, 0.5. You can see now it moved back. So now we can launch this thing. Simulation controls I leave alone. I'm just looking at the starting state. It's launched straight up. I can see that by the launch angle right here, straight up. And it's got a launch guide of 36 inches. And our wind is at 6 miles an hour. And if we launch this thing, I expect it to go fairly straight. So here's the rocket on the pad. I click launch. The rocket takes off, and it's going pretty good. Pretty good. The booster stage did fall off. It's in the smoke right now. It's right there. And it's going to tumble back down to the ground. And while the upper stage has a streamer, so it's coming down nicely right there. All right, so that answers Dave's question on how do you put that transition with a tube that runs through it. So the topic of this one would be tube through a transition, because that's really what his question was. It's not how to make a transition, it's how to put the tube in it. And the solution is, like we said, we're going to break the tube that runs all this way. Instead of being one tube, we're going to split it in two right at the front of the transition. So we have the part that you can see, and then the part you can't see, which is an inside tube. So that was the trick, Dave, that you were missing, is just split that tube into two parts. All right, so let's go over here, and we had Gerald K say, can RockSim be used to make a four-sided pyramid? And the answer is no, because in RockSim, it's looking for tubes. Everything has to be along the center line. The exception is nose cones and transitions, but they can only have a circular cross section. So like this transition that we made right here, that's the closest thing to a pyramid, but it's circular. It's, you know, it's a cone. So let me move this here. See, I can't make these flat on the sides. So if you want to make something that looks like a pyramid, we did a kit that we sold. It was by Sunward. And let's see if I... let's see, RockSim Designs. I got more RockSim Designs folders than I know what to do with. It was a Sunward kit. It was a Sunward pyramid. Sunward Series 3 Mundus. No, I don't have it. What was the name of that? Khufu? Khufu? I'm probably spelling it wrong. I want to look by name. Date modified. Yeah, crud. I'm sure it's pretty old. No. Yeah, I don't remember the name of it. Let's look one more place. Under applications, I'm going into my RockSim folder. This is the original one here, RockSim 10.5. You go into designs, Sunward. No, it's not in there either. Did we have one called Tut? King Tut? But basically what I used, it wasn't a pyramid, it was a cone. And you can simulate a pyramid shape by using a cone. King Tut. King Tut. None of these are RockSim files. Where are they stored though? Anyway, so cancel out of that. I can't find it. So if you wanted to do that, what you would do is you would go to, let's create a new design. We're going to go to the design components and we're going to create a nose cone. And this nose cone is going to be a large cone. So I'm going to cancel out of the database. I want to make it conical. The length, we'll make it 5 inches, not 50, 5. And the diameter at the base, we'll make it 6 inches. So there we have a cone, and if I look at it in 3D, man, I got it black. Let's change it to a color you can see. Did I not click OK? Oh, what's going on here? Come on, I don't want it black. There we go. Go 3D. There's my cone. But then you have to make it hollow. I have to go back here, make it hollow. It's drawing a base on the cone, which is why the nose cone is hollow, but there's a base on it, and I can't remove that base. 0.01 inches. You can see the mass is 17 grams, so it's calculating the weight of it correctly. It's just not drawing it correctly. But then what you can do is you can put in an inside tube for your motor mount. We'll put an 18 millimeter in there. You can see it's hanging out. And the location, we'll move it further back and then change the length. And if you want it to hang out the back like that, that's fine. And say this is a motor mount. And I can load an engine. And let's put an Estes C6 3. Click OK. See, it's hanging out the back. Let's check the center of gravity and the center pressure. So what's going on here is my center of gravity is, again, it's behind the center of pressure, so it's unstable. So to make this rocket stable, I'm not going to add fins this time. I can add nose weight to try to move that forward. So I'll do that. So I'm going to go to the nose cone, put in a mass object, and we'll cancel out of the database. So there's our mass object, and then we will change the location, put it inside, and we'll give it some mass. Let's put in like 20 grams. So 20 grams will move that center of gravity far enough forward where it is stable. I'll click OK. And we'll see this time the margin of stability is 0.07. Yeah, so basically it's looking at this diameter here. So the distance these are apart divided by that is 0.07. So it's saying it's very marginal stability, but we can launch it. We'll go to launch and look at the flight profile. Have to save it. So it needs a name. Let's call this a pyramid. And now we launch it. It doesn't go very high, 300 and something feet. That's higher than I thought. And then it's coming straight down. But it does launch straight. The apogee point is in our weathercocking cone, so that's actually good. So that's how you make a pyramid in RockSim. You got to do it as a cone because you can't have four sides. Chris Swainston, if I have a rocket in the launch visualizer and I change the design in RockSim, do I have to delete it in the launch visualizer and re-upload it to get the change? And the answer is yes, Chris. You have to re-upload it. So if I open up the launch visualizer and I go to rocksim.com where the launch visualizer is, and I'll log in and go to my account, sign in, and I'm going to upload a new design. So we'll browse on our desktop where that is, and I want to look on my desktop folder, and we have that Apogee Blue Streak 2-stage, and click open and upload, and it uploaded it, and there's that rocket that we just designed. So now if I go back into RockSim, let me go File, Open, and I want to go back to my desktop, and I'm going to go to the Blue Streak 2-stage, open that, save that one. No, I don't care about saving it. Okay, so here's our design. Say we want to change something here, so we go to the design components, and let's say we go and change the fin set. Instead of being swept aft, we sweep them forward like this. Click OK. Let's load those engines back in. So I'm going to go here. This is the fast way to load them back in. You highlight them from the flight simulations that you previously ran, then do a right click with your mouse, and you can say load engines, and it will load those engines back in. What I want to check is did I make the rocket unstable by sweeping those fins forward? And yes, I did. Remember, it was stable before with them swept aft, but now they're unstable. And I can tell that because the center of gravity, again, is behind the center of pressure. It tells me right here I am unstable. We'll save this. So now I saved it on my computer, but if I'm here in the launch visualizer, it doesn't know what's going on my computer because this is in the web. This is in the cloud. So if I want to change this design, what I would probably do, Chris, is upload it as a new design. So let me go back here to my desktop. And here's that design. I'm going to change the name here. I'm going to call it version 2. And then hit save there. And now, instead of deleting the design here, to delete the design, if you wanted to do that, the process would be you go up here to your profile, then you come down here to user dashboard. This is where all your designs and all your personal information is saved. No one has access to this but you. Even we don't have access to this because of privacy issues. So this is stored in your database in the cloud. You can see, my personal information here, but your data, you can go here under these buttons right here, go to manage data, and you can see the launch sites you've saved, your own personal launch sites, any wind tables that you saved, any design that you saved, and then plus your payment history will be down here as well. So these are the designs that I've saved, and if I scroll through this, there's a little scroll bar right here. I'm grabbing and dragging it. I can see the Apogee blue streak. So if I wanted to delete it, I would come over here to the checkbox, check it, and then hit the delete button. Or I could download it back to my computer. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back to the main screen, and I'm going to upload a new design because I changed the name on my desktop. And so now I'll have two versions in the cloud, one with fins swept aft, and one with fins swept forward. So I'm going to do the process again, browse. So here is the version 2 that we just saved, renamed. Click open, and then upload. You can see how fast this is. This goes quick, so you're not losing a lot of time. So here is the second version, with the fins swept forward, and if we go to the flight events or the my data here, the last time we ran that simulation, I can click on it, and I can rerun or load engines. I'm going to load engines. So I just reloaded those engines, the C6 and the D12, into that rocket, just like that. I really like that feature of these buttons down here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to change my launch site. So I'm going to choose a launch site, and I think Chris was in Arizona. So I'm going to try to find an Arizona launch site. Arizona. Paradise Valley Prefect. Click OK. I think this is in Arizona. If not, we'll see it on the map. So it's loading the maps right now. This is out in the middle of the desert somewhere because there's no trees. Okay, I'm just swinging around so north is pointed up. I'm zooming out to see where I am. Here's I-10. Yeah, so this is in Arizona. Outside of the biggest city close by is Phoenix. So this is a nice big launch site with absolutely no features to it, other than it's got a couple little mountains that are pretty close. So we'll launch there, and we've already loaded the motors, and we'll click launch. Now this one, remember, should be unstable, so hopefully the rocket goes unstable here. But sometimes, you never know, it might go stable. Oh, look at that. The engines are hanging out the back. I have to let my programmers know about that. I want to rotate this around. Oops. Let's go to a trajectory view. Oh man, it just switched everything around. So the rocket is somewhere right in the middle. I want the north to be pointing north. So north is the black arrow, and I want to kind of point north. So north is out that way. Find the rocket, and if you click on the button and nothing happens, that means that the rocket is centered directly dead center in the middle of the screen. So if I zoom in, it will find the rocket. There it is, right there, just a little dot. And it only stays in the air 4.72 seconds, so that's not a good sign. That means it's probably going unstable. And sure enough, the rocket does go unstable. You can see it flopping around right there. Let's change the view here, get a better view of it going unstable. Yeah, did not like that configuration of being launched when it's unstable. I want to see the trajectory path here. That's why I'm clicking these buttons. Let me zoom out a little bit further so you can see that rocket it's just flipping around. Now if I load the other one, so if I go to select rocket, and if I'm not going to upload, I'm going to go select rocket design, choose a design, and it should be at the very bottom because it's one of the last ones that I've loaded. So here's the first one, here's the second one. So we're going to load this one, select it, and everything should be the same. We should still be in Arizona, but the engines are not loaded because we loaded a new design. So I'm going to use that trick again to load the engines really fast. So I'm going to go to my data. This is where all the flights are stored. There's that one that we ran on the RockSim in our desktop. I'm going to say load engines, and it loaded them in, and now I'm going to hit launch, and we'll simulate, and we'll see what this looks like. Okay, so again, we're at that same launch pad out in the middle of the desert, and let's see, I want to do remember time view. Okay, so I'm just making sure that we can see everything going on here. Okay, so the rocket is somewhere right there. When we launch it, we'll see a line coming up. Whoa, this did go unstable too. Wow, I wouldn't have thought that. Wow, so how do we make that rocket go straight? That's not good. So let's pause it here. I'm going to go back into RockSim. Let's just check to see if we got any of the last questions right here. Johan, the sloper says, oh darn, too late, was busy. Well, Johan, we started like 20 minutes late today because we had technical difficulties here with YouTube. So we'll go a couple minutes longer. Johan says, yeah, this is gap staging. Yeah, that design that we're working on, this one right here, there's a gap between the bottom of this motor and the top of this one, and that's why he's got these vent holes here. So this is a really good design, except for being unstable and no fins. So let's go back to RockSim. Okay, so here's our design. We're going to have to make these fins even bigger. So go to the design components, go to the fin set. I'm going to sweep them back again. Oops, I changed the semi-span, not the sweep angle. Okay, it's semi-span. I don't think we need to make them that big. And what I want to do also is to give it more root cord and more tip cord. Okay, so these are much bigger fins, and we'll say OK. And now I'm going to save this again. I'm going to do a file save as, and I'll put it on the desktop, 2-stage, and we'll call it version 3. Hit save. Okay, so again, we'll go back to the launch visualizer, which is in my browser. Go back to select rocket, upload the new design, hit browse. We'll find it on my desktop. Click open, upload it. So now we're uploading it into the cloud. Okay, so much bigger fins this time. And go to my data again. We're going to reload those engines, load engines, and then launch. Wait a minute here. What's going on? Nothing. Everything's fine. For some reason, the engines are not showing up correctly. Launch rocket, simulate, and cross our fingers that this one goes higher. No, it's not. I can tell because I can see right here at 5.23 seconds. It's just it's still going to go unstable. The fins are just not big enough, or we need more nose weight. Let me pause that. Let me run a simulation with just the upper stage. So I'm going to go back to load engines. I'm going to take this motor here and I'm going to clear that out. So now we only have a motor in the top stage. And click launch and simulate. Okay, so now the reason it's not showing the launch pad is because the launch pad's underground. If I want to see the launch pad, I can come here onto the flight screen and you can see that there's an elevation adjustment. So I can just see the pad appearing right here on the corner of my screen. That's what I'm looking for. Okay, click OK. So now we see the launch pad, but the rocket, the motor is still hanging out the back. Something's going on. This should be a stable rocket. I wonder. Because the motor is in the wrong position, I wonder if it's changed the center of gravity location. Let's pause it. And let's go to my flight data. See if I can see the CG location. So right now it says my CG is at 15.67 inches. And in RockSim, if I look here and if I just show the top stage, the CG should be about 10.4 inches. So I think what's going on is because of this engine hanging out the back. Oops, let me zoom in. Let's see the rocket. You see that the engine is hanging out the back here? It's shifted the CG from 10 down to 15, and that's making the rocket go unstable. I can check, and I think that's because it's a 2-stage rocket and there's a transition in it. And I think that's the problem my programmer is working on right now. I'm going to check it by looking for the real blue streak that is not a 2-stage. And that should be in the demo designs, I think. No, it's not in the demo. It's probably in the user designs. I'll type in blue streak. I got all these blue streaks with 2 stages on them, but not the original one. So let me go to RockSim. Let me upload it. This is how I debug rockets. We're looking at all the data, trying to figure these kinds of things. They get my brain going. which is why I like them. So I'm going to do a file open, and I want to go to my RockSim designs. I'm looking for the blue streak. Here it is. This is the original one. So I want to save that last one. No, because I think I saved it already. Look at this one. This one has the fins on the nose cone. Let's move the fins all the way to the back where they should be. I don't even think those are the correct fins. Cancel. Let me open up a different blue streak version. So I'm going to go to my RockSim application folder. So find the RockSim application folder. This is the one that comes with when you download RockSim from our website. The ones that I was playing with are my own personal designs. So I'm in the design folder, go down to the Apogee components folder, and I'll try this one. Save changes to that one? No. Okay, so that looks much, much better. So this one shows the CG at 6 point. Let me load an engine in there. Choose an engine. Estes C67. Click OK. And let's just launch it just for grins. Okay, so with the C67 we should expect 1600 feet. And our CG is 10.4, so that should be right. So I'm going to save this, save as, I'll put it on my desktop, Apogee Blue Streak, save it. Okay, so now I'm going to upload that version to the launch visualizer. So I'm going to upload Rocket, hit browse. All right, so that's the latest one. Click open. Upload. Okay, so now we should see the blue streak sitting on the launch pad. Now let's load the engine. Oops, let's go to my data. That last one that we just did, 1628, load the engine. Okay, so it loaded the engine, and I'm not seeing the engine hanging out the bottom, so let's launch it. Did I click launch? There we go. Launch, simulate. Okay, my launch pad. Ugh, something's going on here. It's like putting all the motors in the wrong location. Because if I go here to flight data, CG is at 18 inches. No, we should be at 10.4. Something's going on. Yeah, this one's going to go unstable as well. Yeah, because the engine is... Yeah, this is why your center of gravity is so critical. Because if your center of gravity is wrong, it's going to make your rocket go unstable. Oh, I got to have a call with the programmer, because now it's like, is it every rocket? Let's look. Let's load a different rocket. So I'm going to. I don't want to upload one. I want to just look from my database. Let's go with an apprentice. Select that one. Choose engine. Estes C67 and launch. Simulate it. Because this should be a stable design. Okay, so now this one's going okay. This one goes fine. So why is it my blue streak is going crazy, but everything else is working fine? Yeah, see, we're out here in the middle of the desert, and rocket is drifting. It's right there right now, and it's going to land somewhere way out here. It's only in the air for just a little over a minute. Trying to drag it out to the end. while it's thinking. Come on. Let me go over here. Really, reloads of fiddling to produce something nice and technically sane. Your engine overhang is at 5 instead of 0.5. What? Let me go back to that blue streak. I wonder if that's right. I wonder if it's select motor, choose engine, C6, 7, engine overhang at 0.5 inches. And launch, simulate. So now it's working. Huh. Launch. Yeah, that rocket flew just fine. You guys are on the ball, though. You're helping me debug. Johan says we should have a chat alert. What's a chat alert? I don't know what a chat alert is. But this has been fun debugging. Now I wonder. Let's go back to our original. This will be the last one. I'll go back to the 2-stage version 3. Select, and let's look at choosing the motors. We'll choose them here. C6, 7 in the upper stage, and just check my engine overhang, 0.5. We'll do the same thing with the booster. Choose an engine. Again, he had an Estes D12 0, engine overhang of 0.5, so that's good. Click OK and launch. Simulate. I'm thinking this is something with the transition. Nope, look at that. My engine overhang must have been wrong. But now look at my rocket. My transition is not showing up in the correct spot. Elevation adjustment. Okay. See what's going on there? Where's my transition? Interesting. But this one's going 85 seconds. So it's definitely working. Now let me start it again. So it's taking off, it's twiddling around there, the booster fell off, the upper stage burned. What did I do wrong? But I had fun. I had fun and I'm learning something, but my transition is definitely not showing up in the right spot because it should be right here. Okay, so chat alert to communicate with Tim. Well, normally, Johan, I have this screen that you see right here. I have it off here, off to the side. But my computer was acting up. It was running really slow. So I shut off this second monitor, and then it made it run better. But I can't see myself now. So I can't see the chats because they're buried behind what I was working on. What I need is a chat alert with a bell that goes ding. It lets me know that there's a chat. Okay, so we're done for the day. Let me go back to here, and we'll change this to the outro. So now you're seeing my entire screen. My entire camera. And we will end this. And we started 20 minutes late, and so now we're finishing 20 minutes late. So I appreciate everybody being here and putting up with my technical difficulties. And we had fun debugging. I certainly had fun, and I enjoyed your company. Next week, Friday, we will be here, but it will not be me. It will be Michelle, because Thursday is Thanksgiving, our Thanksgiving in the United States. So I'm going to be visiting with family, and so I will not be here on Friday, but Michelle will be here. And then the following Friday, which is I think December 2 or 3, I will not be here as well. So I'll be here in 3 weeks, but we will be back. So be very kind to Michelle. Bring all good questions, because she loves good questions. In fact, if you can, email them to her ahead of time, because Michelle just loves to be prepared. I like to have things sprung on me because that's the kind of person I am. I just go with the flow. But Michelle likes to be a little bit more prepared than I do. So give your questions to her ahead of time, and she will be happy to answer them. Just like she knows this program better than me. In fact, if there's installation issues, she knows this better than me. So thank you again for coming. We will see you next week, although it will be Michelle here, and you'll have fun with Michelle. So in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go out and launch something.